Heyo, it's Tim at Vince, and today I want to go over Star Wars Interworlds, a complete overhaul mod for X4 Foundations. Basically, the team for Star Wars Interworlds uses X4 as an engine to create a whole new experience for the player. I would recommend this mod even if you're not a Star Wars fan. There are some mechanics that it adds that are really cool, add some depth and strategy to your gameplay, such as maintenance, and it's really, really well done. Well, let's just jump in real quick and look at what mods I'm using. We have the Replenish Missiles mod from Chilmatica is basically a cheat that allows you to create missiles out of thin air. You may or may not want to use this mod, that's up to you. I just want to call it out. Um, if you find that the mechanisms in which Egosoft allows you to auto-replenish missiles to be lacking, then you may want this mod. If you don't, then it may be considered a cheat by you. So I just want you to be aware of its existence. Star Wars Interworlds doubles down on missile play, and as a paradigm, there are a lot of ships that use missiles, so this is a very handy mod for some players to resupply those ships, and a bit overpowered. But it is modifiable in the settings, so you can choose how often ships replenish missiles automatically. Dead Air Economy and Scripts and DeadTater are three mods from Dead Air that I use. This says Tater Trade from Leadslow, but I don't use the Tater Trade script. I use DeadTater, and so I consider that to be a Dead Air mod myself. You don't have to worry about the portions of Dead Air mods that are not compatible with Star Wars Interworlds. Dead Air as a modder has a flag in their code that says if running Star Wars Interworlds, turn off these features that are not compatible. So that as a whole makes their mods compatible. UI extensions and HUD, friendly fire tweaks. We've covered those in my top 10 vanilla-based mods video. Star Wars Interworlds is obviously the crux of what we're talking about today. Mules Supply and Warehouses Extended is a pretty cool mod that allows you to manage your empire differently than intended through vanilla. So I'm going to showcase that today. Custom tabs and equipment tooltips we've covered in another video. Equipment tooltips in particular, I just want to call out again how handy this is for Star Wars Interworlds. You can hover over equipment when you're outfitting a ship and see why, for instance, one laser might be more beneficial in certain circumstances over another. ShipDib has the improved patrol, which we have covered. We have not covered Reaction Force, which consumes improved patrol if you set it up correctly, but Reaction Force allows you to have reactionary forces which respond to threats multiple sectors away as they arise in an intelligent and effective manner. Fantastic mod, a little complicated, has a manual, as does Mules Supply and Warehouses Extended. They have some documentation, and I recommend highly that if you use these mods, you read the documentation for them. And then mod support APIs and my AI imitate and trade have been covered in my top 10 mods video. That should surmise all of the extensions that we're using for this playthrough. And performance is going to be atrocious. This is not indicative of what you will see in your game. I am, if you look at my maintenance, I'm paying like 37 million credits an hour, or every 30 minutes, I mean, just for maintenance. So I'm running a horribly efficient empire and pushing the mods to their limits. In addition, I have satellite coverage throughout the entire universe, or in Star Wars terms, the galaxy, I guess. So just be aware that it's going to be kind of laggy, and that's not a reflection on the mods that I'm showcasing today, but rather on my poor ability to manage a late game empire. I'm basically doing everything wrong. To start out with, let's go to my warehouse. All wares in my empire run through my warehouse.
Jump completed.
Which is a design decision that I don't know if I would repeat if I played again. This warehouse, as you can see the lag of ships coming in and out, all my factories pull wares from the warehouse and they send wares to the warehouse, but also all mining wares come through this warehouse as well, which is probably controversial. If we look at the logical overview, for instance, everything you can imagine in the game is here, including wares like I think scrap metal is turned off. Yep, we're not using scrap metal, but things like silicon, for instance. We are buying and selling silicon for the entire empire. And if you look at the warehouse, really the only ships assigned to it are miners for the most part, which is bring in the raw wares that we need to get our empire fueled and up and running. You might be wondering, if everything runs through the warehouse, then why do you basically have only miners assigned to the warehouse? Where are all the traders? The traders fall under a few different places. We'll start with the solar suppliers. The solar suppliers take wares from the warehouse and supply my production sector, which is almost entirely in Bastion. And if we look at solar suppliers list, the vast majority of them or a lot of them, are miners. We have some traders as well, some transport ships, and some big ones, but a lot of these are miners. And so we're taking the raw mineables from the warehouse and sending them to the Bastion factories using a supply mule, which is the warehouse's extended mod. And I have them set up as a mimic fleet, so that I configure the behavior for the parent or the commander, and then I just assign a bunch of ships as a mimic, and they go about doing what they're supposed to do. The warehouse brokers are ships that take wares from my warehouse and sell them right now only to the Empire, but they could sell to anyone in the game if I configured them such that they would do that. And again, that's a mimic fleet of an absurd number of ships. And then each station in Bastion, like the Advanced Composites Factory, has an associated station mule that supplies and brings wares from the Advanced Composite Factory to the warehouse. So in this case, we can see there are only 2 ships assigned to the Advanced Composites Factory, a commander that is configured, and a mimic. The Mules and Warehouses Extended mod has this beautiful feature that allows you to assign a station mule to the station as a subordinate. However, I have found with the lost ship replacement feature that if the ship is destroyed, then the lost ship replacement feature will correctly resupply the ship, but it will not correctly set it as a station mule. It'll set it as a default trader. And so then if you have ships destroyed, you end up changing the supply logic from mules to the vanilla logic, and you won't know it. And so it's not, you don't have feature parity there, and it can be frustrating because you don't even know that you no longer have ships operating the way they were before. So what I do is I create mimic fleets, and in theory, there would be the same number of stations here as there are fleets. The reason that's not the case right now, as you can see, there are fewer stations than there are station mule fleets. And that is because anything that is under construction or is being configured is under my Stations and All Ships tab. I could create another tab just for this, but I haven't found the need for it. I just leave them in the default station list, and there should be nothing in here. So if there is something in here, indeed we can see the warehouse. If we were to look at it, it is under construction. You see station module 16% is being built. When that gets completed, I'll send it back over to a different tab. And if you were to take all of these that are factories, not the warehouse, and add them to this list, there would be the same number of fleets as there are stations and stations. So that's just the way I manage my empire. By no means do you have to manage yours that way. Custom tab B has my defense platforms that I have built to gain favor with the empire, which is another mechanic in the game. You can't just raise your reputation to level 20 and call it good. You need to do things such that you earn respect and favor and trust with the empire that you are trying to go with. And then as you gain that favor and you grow as an empire yourself, the enemies of the empires you're friendly with may not be friendly with you. So war is definitely a thing in Star Wars Interworlds, much more so than vanilla. I have a lot of equipment docks. That's to manage the maintenance, but there, I'm going to call those out here. A lot of sectors I own, it's there to manage the maintenance mechanic. And then I have military fleets and then some supply fleets here in the B tab. I've already gone over warehouse brokers and source suppliers. The sinless smugglers are my DeadTater ships, and I have configured again a parent or commander acclimator transport ship, and then assigned an absurd number of traders as mimics underneath the parent. And as long as the parent is not destroyed, everything works wonderfully. Otherwise, I need to come in and potentially reconfigure some things. DeadTater is a pretty efficient setup. The modder, Dead Air that makes DeadTater, is very good at what they do, and I'm not really concerned about running so many, but that may be an excessive number of traders regardless. And as you can see, my performance is not great, but I don't think that's solely because of DeadTater. And so that is, again, because of me and the way I do things. And I don't want to disparage anybody from using this or to say that it's bad for performance, because I could guarantee you probably out of everything I'm running, the Sinless Smugglers and the DeadTater fleet is probably the least likely of my concerns, knowing what I know about Dead Air as a modder. Sector supply is handy. There's some cool things you can do with supply mules to keep your carriers topped up for missiles. So, you know, an auxiliary ship in X4 can create trade offers on its own that a carrier cannot. However, you can use supply mules to supply carriers so that they're always topped up and can resupply missiles. And then you don't need the Replenish Missiles mod. Sector patrols, like my Victory Star Destroyer. Let's get out of this sector I'm in. See if we can improve performance a little bit for the video. And let our autosave take place. But the sector patrols, every sector I have has a patrol. And that means that they are the fastest to respond to enemies within that sector. Especially because we're using the improved patrol feature of this defend sector checkbox here. As soon as they see an enemy in the sector, they will beeline to that enemy. However, and there's an equipment dock in the background there. However, if that's not enough, what I have set up are reaction force ships. So this reaction force ship here, for instance, has been configured. This is kind of a confusing menu, and there's a manual for this, but because it's set on patrol, which is 4 out of 4, it will use the improved patrol mod and beeline for any enemies in the sector that needs to be taken out, so long as they, I believe, follow these rules. I'm not exactly positive if it would beeline for an L ship or not, but for the most part it works as I intend. And then if it notices any enemies within 3 sectors, it will that are small or medium class ships. It will go to take them out as well, even if the sector patrol is already taking care of that. It will assist, and this is really cool. A really cool feature that makes the game feel responsive to your needs as an empire. And then this one is for small and medium ships. I've set up a super capital that will take out L and XL ships, because sometimes enemies in Star Wars Interworlds will send big ships to take out your factories. It's good to have a military presence, and Reaction Force is a great way to do that. Let's cover maintenance. If I go under player information and maintenance, you can see I spent 37 million credits about 10 minutes ago just to keep my empire afloat. And there are things you can do to mitigate these costs, such as owning sectors, as you can see here, or building equipment docks within sectors, or even putting supplies on your equipment docks which can be consumed in lieu of credits. But I'm an empire, my faction level is 5, and so I have a multiplier for maintenance of 2 times, and it's just ridiculously expensive. This mechanic caught me off guard, and even though I have a equipment dock set up solely for the purpose of consuming ship supplies, I'm still paying 37 million every 30 minutes, which is a lot.
Completed. Bastion.
But I have a lot, so it's okay. This is a equipment dock with ship supplies, and equipment dock with ship supplies, factories on it, and as they're produced, they're deposited into the equipment dock, which is then consumed and hopefully lowers my maintenance costs. And it does, but it does not negate it entirely. But again, I'm running a very inefficient late game empire. As you can see, all the territory I own over here and some down here, and then I've been fighting with the New Republic down in Vakar. So, what else should we cover? We've covered DeadTater, Sector Patrol, Reaction Force, Mules and Warehouses briefly. The mods that I'm running, I think so far everything is covered. There's some cool there are some cool mechanics around the research facility and research that you build to build super capitals. And then if I were to go show you my shipyard, I'm actually building a super capital right now.
Jump completed. Heli.
And you can see it here at the bottom. So, and that's research that you unlock throughout the game. There are bounties for early game or maybe even mid game, depending on how much you enjoy bounties, that you can do. You can be a bounty hunter in X4 Star Wars Interworlds. Just a lot of really cool things. So, yeah, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, check out this mod and tell me what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.